right next to it the balance sheet, or you can even find both in the same table. So with the balance sheet, we are being provided with information for investing. So in the income statement, we had information for operations, for our, let's say, daily operations. In the balance sheet, we're going to find information that relates to how the money is being moving, how the money is being invested, where is the money gotten from, everything you need to know in terms of investing. So this is the formula I mentioned before. This is how the three different parts of the balance sheet are related to each other. Assets, that means everything you own. It can be liquid money, or it can be either, I don't know, warehouses, your offices. Everything that you own belongs to assets as a company. Liabilities is the money you owe to, let's say, bankers, or most of the time bankers. So it's the money you borrow to operate your company. And shareholders' equity, it's money as well that you get from investors. So it makes sense. All the money you have, all the different things you have, assets you have, activos, equals to the money you are being given or borrowed from the bank, and the money your different investors give to you. It doesn't matter if your company is public or not. I'm going to explain actually what is going public. If you hear some things like APO or a company going public, it means that the different shareholders for that company decided to open the company to everybody, to the public. So you and me can buy shares for that company. We can buy a part of that company. That's what I mean when I say your company is public, that everybody can have a part of it. So this is how it looks like. You see here the income statement, and I took this from Trader Joe's case. And here in this part, you have the three different parts of the balance sheet: the total assets, the liabilities, and the equity. If you perform here the formula I just show you here, you'll find that these numbers are balanced. So that's where the name of this statement comes from. So you have to make sure as the same as the income statement that these numbers match. In this case, we have the three grouped, but sometimes we will find, and we will see in the Tiffany & Company case, that assets, liabilities, and shareholders' equity can be dismantled in even more specific parts. So here we have cash and cash equivalents. That means all the money you have, the liquid money, the money you have maybe in the bank. Marketable securities, that's the money that's not liquid. And when I say liquid, that means I have the cash. But it's really easy to turn it into liquid. So for instance, if you have some money in the bank that you are receiving a return on, I mean, you're investing in the bank, or you can be investing also in government. I don't know if you have heard about, how are they called? I forgot the name. So you can have money then the government can use, and they give you a return on it. Se me fue el nombre en español.
CETES y LETES, creo que.
CETES. ¿Quién fue?
María Fernanda.
María Fernanda. Sí, son los CETES. So that's also marketable security, because even though you don't have the money in liquid form, at any time you can say to the government, in this case, to give you your money and your return. So that's marketable securities, money that it's easy to make liquid. Accounts receivable, that's the money that we are expecting from our customers to pay to us. That's the money they owe to us, even we gave them, I don't know, some kind of credit. That's the money that's due to the company from their customers. Inventory, that's all the stock you have. All the products you have on stock or that are warehoused belong to inventory. Prepaid expenses, if you paid in advance, I don't know, the rent, for instance, that's a pretty common prepaid expense. they belong to assets. Liabilities. So that's the money you owe to other parties different for your shareholders, from the money from your shareholders. So in this case, we have the current portions. And remember, we are talking about yearly balance sheet. So that's one part of a long-term debt we have with the bank. Any short-term debt that we have with the bank as well. If we have interest to pay to the bank, wages as well. If we have to pay wages to outsourcing, in this case, they belong here. Customer prepayments. So if we owe for some reason money to the customer that we have to pay them, that goes to liabilities. Dividends payable, that's the money or the return we give to our shareholders. So they belong here. That's the part we pay to our shareholders. That's liabilities. And account payable. So that means all the money you owe to any other party that's different from your shareholders, that goes to dividends. And the shareholders' equity, that's the money, basically the money your shareholders give you. And usually that varies over time. And if you are talking about 1 year, that amount varies over time. So what we usually see in our balance sheet, that number is the average of the whole year. So yeah, that's it. I was about to show you, oh no, never mind. So this is important. The income statement gives to us information about the operational efficiency, and the balance sheet shows asset efficiency. So when we look at the different cases we are or have been analyzing in this class, keep in mind that if we want to look for a operational malfunction or problem, the income statement is the statement we have to go for. However, if we want to look at some problem in terms of investing or in terms of how we use the money we have to go for the balance sheet. This is one of the rates I'm going to be showing today, but these rates are pretty common when looking at the balance sheet. The first one is the return on average assets. And remember, when I say average, throughout the whole year, we have a lot of variation in our KPIs. So the number you see in the balance sheet, or even on the profit income statement, sorry, that's an average. Even though it's not explicit, it is. So in this case, we have the returns on average assets. The formula is this one, and I'm going to explain how you can read this number from the formula. So in the upper half, we have net income, and on the lower, on the bottom half, we have the average total assets. If you remember the profit margin, you can read some kind of like the same way, this ratio. So it's how efficient you are on using your assets to generate income. If this number is really low or really high, that has a meaning to it. If you have, let's say, low number from 5 to 10, that means your company, or in this case, the industry, if you want to enter the industry, you will need a high amount of capital. So sodas, for instance, the soda industry has a low rate on average, a low return on average assets. So if you don't know the industry, by looking at this number, you can sense, okay, if you are going to invest, this kind of industry needs a lot of money to create a new company, or if the number is a high number, you don't need a lot of money to create a company. So this ratio or return goes directly or relates directly to entry barriers. So with this number, you can ask or answer the question, do I need a lot of capital or not to enter to this industry? You have to also compare, because this is calculated not for the industry, but for one company. So if you want to compare to other companies, that's the right thing to do. The number by itself doesn't tell you a lot. It tells you, okay, so I need a lot of money to enter to this industry. But if you're analyzing just one company, that doesn't mean it applies to all of the different companies. So if you want to know how you are doing in this return rate, you have to compare this rate to other companies. And then we have the return on average equity. So this is the formula, the net income, remember that's revenue minus cost, divided by the average shareholders equity, average again, because the number or the KPI varies over time. And what it says to us is that the more you invest as an investor, the more you invest on this company, the more returns the company is going to have. So the more the dividend you are going to be paid. So if you see a high return on average equity, that means if I invest more in this company, the company is going to perform well. So as an investor, if you see a high number here, you are probably going to be happy on investing, not just a small amount of money, but a big amount of money, because you know that the more you invest, the more the company is going to perform well, and it's going to have even more profit returns. So questions on this? We are going to do the Tiffany & Co. case to understand a little bit more this, but you have any questions on assets, liabilities, equity from shareholders, these two ratios? Okay, so we're going to solve together the Tiffany & Company case. What I mean when I say together is that I'll be guiding you and I'll be asking you to do some tasks in order for us to get to the solution. In this case, in the first term, we focused on forecasting. In second term, we focus on SWOT analysis. And in this case, which is data analysis, we are going to analyze numbers to reach a solution to the case. So that's another way to see cases. Let me share with you the Tiffany & Co. Please have it at hand, because I'll be asking some of you some tasks to do this even quicker. We have a lot of numbers. The first place to go to, well, the first place I always go to is here, the income statement, and then I see the balance sheet, and then I see the other graphs that are being shown. So the main question to answer here, I'll give you a brief introduction or a brief summary on this case, is this last question. So I think you're pretty familiar with Tiffany & Co. They have been around for quite a long time. It says here from 1833. And what they have been selling so far, and I'm talking about 10 years ago, was just jewelry, rings, engagement rings with gems and without gems, and they work with gold, silver, and even some aleaciones de acero, that too. So we know this company for this, and they have pretty set the standards for diamond shaping and even diamond rings for the US and for the whole Earth, basically. What they want to do, and what they have been doing actually the last 10 years, was to license their name. So they went from a product company, diamond rings, to a lifestyle company. So they started to, in this case, to license their name to eyewear brand, which it doesn't say the name, but I know the name, which is Luxottica. Luxottica has a lot of really high-end brands that basically do the same for Tiffany & Co. Do the same of what they are doing with Tiffany & Company, such as Ralph Lauren, Gucci, no. I think Burberry as well. I think they have Burberry. So they know what they do. And that's not the first time they are doing this. And if you see what kind of the brands they have, Luxottica has, it's an Italian fashion eyewear. They have Sunglass Hut, Lens Crafter, Pearl Vision. So I don't know about you. The only one I know are these two. This is for like, I forgot the name in Mexico, but this is for medicine. More or less, I forgot the brand name in Mexico, but they do eye medicine. So it's not fashion. But Sunglass Hut is for fashion, right? And I don't know about you, but how I perceive Sunglass Hut is that they have hidden brands. So it's not something, if you want to buy something kind of cheap, you don't go to Sunglass Hut. So what I'm saying here is that Tiffany & Co. has the same values as Luxottica. So this might seem kind of a good thing for them, but we'll see with the numbers. So the question here is, they have been growing at a fast pace around in the USA and also in Japan and in Europe. They have been increasing their outlets, retail stores. And the question to answer is this one: Tiffany brand to an Italian fashion eyewear manufacturer and distributor that own 5,500 outlets be positive strategic moves? I forgot the part here. Will opening more stores at a faster pace and licensing the Tiffany brand to an Italian fashion eyewear manufacturer and distributor that own 5,500 outlets be positive strategic moves or not? That's the question we have to answer. So let's start with the income statement. Help me analyzing the numbers. So we can see the net sales or revenue are increasing, so I don't have to worry about that. I know they are expanding. The gross profit, remember, gross profit is revenue minus the cost of goods sold. It's going up, but that's normal because if you increase the revenues, and this is going to increase as well. Selling, general, and administrative expenses, this is OPEX, operational expenses. So they are increasing, they are expanding, so that's kind of normal too. Earnings from operations, so that's basically your profit before the taxes, before the EBITDA, basically. So it is increasing, then it decreased, and they start to increase as well. So overall, it's increasing, so I'm increasing my profits. So I ask you guys, by looking just at the income statement, is Tiffany & Company performing well in their expansion? Are they performing well or not? From these numbers. Did we said we had some problem here, or everything's? What do you think?
I think that everything is okay, no?
Yeah, everything's okay, right? We are expecting more profit from expansion, and we are getting more profit. However, let's look at the balance sheet. Gross profit. Can someone tell me what's the definition for gross profit? We already saw that profit margin. Oh, okay, well, it says here as a percentage of net sales. So even though it says gross profit, it is talking about gross profit margins because it's dividing it by sales. So remember, the gross profit is here is the revenue minus the cost of goods sold. And even though we see this number increasing, if we divide them by the revenue and we get the margin for it, the margin is decreasing. That means from the revenue we got, I don't know, from one ring we sell in 2003, almost 60% of that money turned into profit, gross profit in this case. So this number is decreasing. So we are turning less money into gross profit from our revenue or sales. So that's not good. Selling, general, and administrative expenses. Remember, this is divided by sales. So this number means from all the money I get, or from all the money I get from selling one ring, for instance, 40% goes to OPEX. So I can see that OPEX is staying stable. I think this is a typo. It should be 40. It's staying stable throughout the whole expansion. So what it means that I'm performing well in operations while I'm expanding. And that makes sense. If you read this case, you'll see that when they started to expand, they controlled expansion for it not to be too quick. So half of the employees for the new stores were current employees, and half of the employees were new employees. So remember, the basis of operations is the capital, the human capital. So with that move, what they did is to stay stable in their operational performance. So that's good. So what this means is that this number that we see in the income statement, even though it is increasing kind of in the same rate as the net sales. So that's why this is staying stable. Earnings from operations, so it's here. It's basically our profit. We can call this profit. This is the profit margin or net profit margin, or if we want to be more refined, the operational margin, because it goes after operations, but it's equal to net income margin because we don't have taxes, remember. We don't have that information. So they are decreasing as well. Even though we see them here increasing, the margin is decreasing. So we are getting less money into our final profit. That's not good. Net capital expenditures, this means how much money we are spending on, in this case, on expansion, or it can be into renewing our locations, renew our catalogs, everything that, all the money you need to improve or create more stores, for instance. So we can see here the numbers. In these 2 years, it cut at half, and we are going to see why. Not right now, but that's kind of an interesting insight. In these 2 years, this was increasing, and then it decreased, and it started to increase again. So something happened between 2004 and 2005. So return on average assets. Remember, this number tells us how good we are using our assets to have profit. So it is decreasing as well. So efficiency in the utilization of all the things we have as a company is not going or performing well. Return on average stockholder equity. This means the more you invest, the better the organization is going to perform in terms of profit margins. So it is decreasing. As an investor, in this case, I didn't give you the context, but Nelson Peltz bought 5.5% of the total shares of Tiffany. Tiffany is a public company, so everyone can buy shares, even you if you want to. So with this move, he became the, how can I say, el inversor o el inversionista mayoritario. So he has the highest amount of stake, which is 5.5. I don't know if you remember that Elon Musk wanted to buy Twitter. So it kind of happened the same as here. So he had the highest stake of the total shares, which I think it was 3 or 5%, some number like that. When he said he wanted to buy it, it means that he wants to buy the rest of the shares that everyone has, because that's a public company. So this created an speculation, right? Because if you had some part of a stake or a share for Twitter, therefore you might think, okay, if he's going to buy this company for this amount of money, that means I'm going to earn a dividend for that. I'm going to earn money for that. The higher the price for the company or the capital market value, the higher the money I'm going to get. So after this decision, which didn't complete actually, you can see the stock market and even the valuation for Twitter and even the different shares that were, some people even bought more shares just from a speculation. Nothing was happening and nothing happened in the end. But speculation, and in this case, speculation can make a huge role into investors' decision. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out. The context, this guy, Nelson Peltz, has the highest stake of Tiffany. So in other words, he can take the strategic decisions because he has the highest amount of money. Okay, so let's look at these 2 years. We see a decreasing half of capital expenditures. So I don't know what they weren't expending a lot of money in their expansion. So let's look at this growth of Tiffany retail stores. So before I go there, I'm going to show you this for you to have a sense of what parts of the world where Tiffany & Company is located are worth the most. So US retail has the highest stake on the total revenue. International retail has kind of the same. Japan, in this case, has the half of this international retail. And direct marketing and internet, they sell a lot of things on internet and catalogs. So we have these 3 different revenue streams where the money is coming from. So what I want to do now is to research why they spend less money on their expansion. So let's see here how they were expanding. I'm going to ask people here to perform some calculations while I continue to answer the case. So Pamela, I see you here. Please calculate the total or the growth rate for the US for each year. Maria Fernanda Mendez, please calculate the growth rate for each year for Japan. And please, Jimena Macias, calculate the growth rate for the total stores. I'm just focusing on the US, Japan, and in the total stores because as I show you already here, that's why I showed you this table before, that the vast majority of our total revenue comes from the US and also from Japan. So that's what I'm going to focus my analysis on the US, Japan, and in general, okay? So Pamela, Maria Fernanda, and Jimena, please do those calculations on Excel for you to share with us. We are going to see something interesting. Just looking at this number of the total amount of stores, we can see an increase in this case of 7 stores, 5 stores, 10 stores, also 10 stores, 3 stores, and 7 stores. So I can see in those years that this decreasing in capital expenditures or CapEx, that's another way to say it, I'm kind of sensing it's due to the decrease in their stores. That makes sense. If I don't increase my stores, then I don't spend a lot of capital expansion or to renew my stores. So Eugenio, I want you to calculate the following. Since I'm just focusing on Japan and the US, and actually it's not groundbreaking that I see in table 4 that I'm just have a focus on the US and Japan. Here, what they are telling me is what they sell and the percentage of the things they sell and the average piece price. Okay, so what we are going to be doing now, and Eugenio, I want you to do this, is to calculate the amount of rings or pieces we are selling in the US and Japan per year in the last year. how we are going to calculate this. So Melissa is going to do for Japan, Eugenio is going to do for the US. For the US, it's pretty straightforward for both actually. So Eugenio, what you have to do is to take this revenue from 2007 in US retail. This total revenue, you have to multiply it by this percentage and divide it by this price. So let me explain you what we are doing right now. If we have the total revenue for the US and you want to know how many pieces you sold to get that revenue, you have to see this table. 31% of the total pieces or total sales were non-engagement gemstones, 14% diamond rings, 9% non-gemstone jewelry, and 31% silver jewelry, actually. So if you multiply the total revenue times the percentage of the items you sold, you get the total revenue or the revenue for that item. And if you have an average piece price, if you divide that number by the average piece price, you'll get the amount of pieces that were sold. So you'll get the amount of pieces that were sold for non-engagement gemstones, the same for diamond rings, the same for non-gemstones jewelry for gold and platinum, and for silver jewelry. And you have to just sum those numbers and you'll get the total amount of pieces you sold in the US. Did we understand how I got this number? Or do we want me to explain it again? So Eugenio, you are going to calculate this. Did you understand how to calculate this number? Yeah. No. So it's total revenue for the US times the percentage divided by the average piece price. You have to do this for each of the items you sell. And you have to, at the end, sum all of these numbers. So Jimena Macias, I think he wrote something. Okay, so Sofia del Bosque, you're going to help us with what Jimena was supposed to do. Jimena, what I told you to do?
The total.
Okay, so do the total, the growth rate for the total number of stores. Okay, Sofia?
Okay.
Okay, so Melissa, what you have to do is for Japan. In this case, you are not going to take this total revenue, right? Because I told you 50% of this number goes to Japan.
So I'll take 50% on the other 50%.
You just multiply this number by 50%.
Okay.
And you do the same as Eugenio is going to do. You multiply this number times 30% and divide it by the average piece price. And you get a number. Do the same for the diamond rings. Do the same for the non-gemstone jewelry. So you'll get 4 numbers and you just add those numbers and you get a total in average pieces you sold in Japan. Okay? Yes? Yes, Sophia, did you get it right? Okay, I think so. So let's look at the stores we have here and here. We have in the US 64 stores, and in Japan we have 52 stores. So we'll just expect the number of pieces to be kind of the same or not. Looking at the stores. So they kind of have the same, well, 8 stores is a kind of big difference, but if you look in the bigger picture, it's not too much of a difference compared to other parts of the world, right? So if we have kind of the same number of stores, would you expect to sell the same number of pieces? Yes, right? So we are going to figure that out once Eugenio and Sophia have those numbers, okay? In the meantime, I just want to tell you what I'm doing because I'm doing the calculations, but the bigger objective is to see that with this growth rate, the number of stores in Japan and the US, how many pieces they sell, if there's some problem in our expansion in the US or Japan, I'm just going to analyze the expansion in the US and Japan. If I see some trouble on these two, or even in two or none of them, I will answer the first question. Would opening more stores at a faster pace be a positive strategic move? That's the first question I'm trying to answer with these numbers. So someone has the growth rate or the pieces we sold in 2007 already? Can you share the screen? Oh, okay. So how much pieces you got for the US? Okay, I got 478. That's, I think, because you didn't round numbers up. I did. Okay, so put around 478. Sophia, do you have the pieces already?
Ya casi, ahí voy.
Okay, so let's go for the growth rates. I think it was Pamela. Do you have the growth rates for stores in the US?
Yes, I think that it's great, but I will share screen.
Yes, please.
Oh,
So if you're not sure, can you show to me the formula?
yes.
Yeah, it's right. The formula is right. Okay, so we can see the 4.8, 6.8, 8.5, 7. Can you write the years, please? I think they start in 2000 up to 2006.
2006?
No, it starts in 2000 and it goes to up to 2006.
Okay, sorry.
Because I want to see the 2004 and 2005, because remember, that's when we got a big decay on our total profit or net profit. Okay, so the decay in the US wasn't that much, right? The decay in our expansion in the US. So I don't want you to give, I won't give you the answer to this question. I want you to think. If the problem, so we got the capital expenses, they were cut half in our expansion. And we saw when we did that, our numbers just went down as well. So I had intuition and I said, I think the capital expenses went down because they just stopped their expansion in these 2 years. So in the US, with this table, I see that this decrease didn't happen. So I don't see a problem here. I already answered the question I was about to ask. I don't see a problem in the US, okay? So I can discard that. I won't suggest the company to continue growing in the US. They should. Let's go to Japan. So who is doing Japan? Who is doing the increase rate? Oh, sorry, growth rate for the stores? Okay, Samuel, can you help me with that? Because I'm pretty sure we have a problem there. Samuel? Okay, so Suzette, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, help me with the growth rates for the stores in Japan. So what we are doing right now is not going to be done for the simulation, but you are going to find these kind of questions within your final exam. So you will have to calculate growth rates, profit margins, understand what the numbers are saying. So try to understand what we are doing. We are trying to find a problem in the rate of growth for Tiffany & Co.
Teacher,
So the
I have-
total, oh, do you have the stores, Sophia?
I have the total of the stores.
How much?
Can I share my screen to show you?
Yeah.
This is what I have.
That's a percentage. What do you do?
I divide it like this.
Oh, but this is not the total stores. I thought you were doing the total stores in Japan.
I thought it was the total, like not in Japan, in the total of everything.
Oh, okay, so this is the growth rate for the total stores.
Yeah, in all the countries.
You'll see from 2004 to 2005,
Mhm.
and that's where we got a problem in those years. So we got a decrease in expansion. So therefore we got a decrease in our CapEx, capital expenses. So I saw that this decrease didn't occur in the US. I'm pretty sure it did in Japan. So can you do the same for Japan, please, Sofia? And I'm going to ask Jorge Andres, are you there?
Yes.
Please do the stores for Japan. So what you have to do is the same as Eugenio did. You have to take this number, the international retail, you have to multiply it by 50% because remember, Japan is doing the 50% of this total revenue in international retail. And you have to multiply that number you got from multiplying this by 50%, or you divide it by two. And you have to multiply that number times 30% and divide it by the average piece price, and you'll get a number. You'll do the same for diamond rings, gold and platinum non-gemstone jewelry, and the silver jewelry. And you add those numbers and you'll tell me how many pieces we sold in Japan, okay? And with these calculations, we'll get the answer to the first question and the second question for sure. Because we are just only waiting to see if we have a decrease in Japan. So, Suzette, whenever you're ready, tell us what are those numbers?
No, I haven't calculated because I don't have the numbers. Can you put the screen again?
Yeah, I'll do it for you here. So Japan growth rate in stores, this column.
No, wait. So what do you want me to calculate?
The
'Cause
growth rate.
Okay, I'm gonna do it.
Teacher, what did I have to calculate? Or
Yeah.
are you finished?
Who is speaking?
Sophia. Sorry.
Oh, you
Yeah.
already calculated another thing, which is fine, the total stores, right? The growth rate for total stores. And we saw that from 2004 to 2005, we have a drastic decrease, sorry. So we have to look.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
We're just waiting for Japan growth rates and the amount of pieces they sold, and we get an answer to the case. So let me, again, Suzette is doing the total amount of pieces sold in Japan, right? Or that's what?
You told me to calculate the growth rate.
Okay, and who else is doing the total amount of pieces? Jorge, right?
Yes, mister.
Okay, let's wait for those numbers. In the meantime, I'm going to do the business framework because right now you can see it's kind of hectic, all the different calculations, but it's basically the answer to the question to answer is, are we having a good expansion or our expansion is being performed efficiently? So efficiency in expansion, or should we not expand? So I analyzed income statement. Whenever you have the numbers, let me know, okay?
Yes.
We have the balance sheet. This is the same as doing it for the profit, right? We are going to find if we have a problem in revenue or cost. In this case, is we are analyzing also the balance sheet. We are trying to find if we have a problem in our expansion. So numbers of stores. So I didn't find any problem here, right? So I don't need to analyze more on the income statement. I know they are being really efficient in their operations, a 40% of efficiency that's being stable. Balance sheet, I already encountered here one problem, right? So basically all the ratios. Okay, Jorge Andres, tell us what's the amount of pieces you got for Japan.
Mister, can I show screen just to see if I did it correctly?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so I had the international retail number, then multiplied it by 50% and got this number, and then I did these calculations for these other 4 areas.
Okay, so that's a number. That's not money.
Okay.
So it's how many pieces we sold. So add all of them to see what's the total amount. So with this number, we are going to answer the first question, and I want you to answer that question instead of me.
Okay, 182.
Yeah, that's really, I got 184 because I round up the numbers, but that's fine. So we had 478 in the US, 184 in Japan. Let me write this down here so we can have the numbers at hand. I'll continue with this later. So US, say, Japan. So here I had 64 stores. Here I have 52 stores. And I'm selling here around 478 pieces a year. And I'm selling here. So do we got the growth rate for Japan? Suzette?
Yes, I think.
Can you share screen, please?
Mhm. I don't know if I did it correctly, but
Let's see. So show me the formula so we can know. Yeah, that's right. Again, you'll see we have a -6% from 2004 to 2005. Okay, so let me write that down, -6 in Japan. And what was for the US? I think, who did it? Who did the US? Who did the US? Which I think we got around 7.8. I think we had 7.8 for 2004 to 2005. Okay, I'm going to. It was Pamela actually, she's not here anymore. Okay, so yeah, she calculated it. So let's gather all the information we have. From 2004 to 2005. We got an increase in stores from about, I don't remember the number because Pamela is not here anymore, but I think this was the number. And for Japan, Oh, we have Pamela here again. Pamela, can you share with us the growth rate you got for the US from 2004 to 2005, please? Pamela?
Ah, sorry.
Yes, give us a number for from 2004
My
to 2005 in the
My
US.
computer was, wait. I think that I have to calculate again because,
Oh, that's fine. I cannot remember it was this. However, it wasn't a negative number, so that's fine.
give me 1 minute and I,
Okay.
Pamela,
Okay.
¿no habías mandado screenshot en el grupo?
pero mandé creo que solo de la parte de arriba, creo.
Let me
Es
see.
que viene de que US Stores del 2005 es 7.3 y
Ah,
2006 8.5.
7.3 entonces, okay. I mean, it's kind of obvious for me, but I don't know if that's for you. What would you suggest to Tiffany and Company in terms of expansion?
Have more stores in the US than in Japan. Probably close in Japan, some stores.
No. So remember, let's remember the problem here. From 2004 to 2005, we have a decrease in our capital expenses. We have our decrease in basically all the KPIs that we have in the balance scorecard. Sorry, in the balance sheet. So we already know that that decrease was not due to the USA market because they have been doing great, right? That decrease was because we stopped expanding in Japan from 2004 to 2005. So again, what would you suggest to Tiffany and Company?
Keep on adding more stores in Japan.
That's it. That's the answer to it. Because we already identified the problem in the balance sheet. In the income statement, the problem wasn't shown because operations were efficient. However, in terms of how we use our assets, how we invest our money, it was not so good. And we start to analyze, okay, so where the money is coming from. That's what I'm doing the framework here. The first thing we did, well, we're going to do another one here. It's how money are we earning and where is that money coming from? So we learned that it comes, the vast majority comes from the US and Japan. So I analyzed the expansion in the US and Japan, and we did the growth rates for those increases or decreases. And we learned that in these 2 years that we were analyzing, because we found a problem in those 2 years, was because and stop in the, or see, yes, we stopped the expansion. We stopped expansion globally. Well, not in the US, we continue expanding and we see the numbers here. In Japan, we stopped expanding. We can see, here's, this is not years. And we can see that by stopping expansion or lowering expansion will give us higher ratios in our balance sheet. And if we look at the balance sheet again, they knew this because once they had this decrease, they say, okay, let's continue expanding. And that's when this number went up, okay? So solution for problem 1 or question 1, we had it. Should they continue expansion or decrease expansion? They should continue expansion, especially in Japan, okay? So that's question 1. Question 2, we can already answer that question without any number analysis. So the question is, should we do this licensing? to Luxottica, an eyewear. He is going to, or Luxottica is going to manufacture and distribute. What Tiffany & Company is doing is just giving their name for some eyewear. So they have 5,500 outlets compared to Tiffany & Company, where they have 167. Let's look at what's different from the US. What's different in Japan from the US? Why are we selling pieces that had a less lower price? In the US, they have a higher price. And if you go and read the case, you'll find that this is because of cultural setting. The way Tiffany & Company is perceived in the US as a tradition, as high quality, as basically high quality and the tradition they have, that's not perceived by Japanese people, or they don't perceive it in the same way. That's why they don't buy for diamond rings, even more expensive jewelry. They don't have the same brand recognition as the US citizens have. So in order to get brand awareness for Japan and foreign countries outside the US, licensing my name and turning my name instead of being a product company, a lifestyle company, I will gain awareness from other companies, okay? From other customers, because I'm turning my brand into not just one product, but a lifestyle, okay? So this strategic move, it's a positive one, because that way in foreign countries outside the US, more people is going to get, it's going to be more aware of the Tiffany's worth in terms of reputation. So I answered the second question as well, not by numbers, but by reading the case. And you'll see that in the case, actually, they talk a lot about how Tiffany is an American brand and Breakfast and Tiffany and New York people. And so it's really American. That's why in Japan, they don't have the same perception of the brand. I think I can see here what they are talking about American brands. Here, we are an American brand, American made. So you'll see this remarkable culture all across the case. So this is a good strategic move. However, my implications, I will say, be careful of who you license your name. Because if you license a name to a brand and I don't know, a una marca que no represente lo que Tiffany & Company es, y ya pasó, pues no va a ser tan fructífero. For instance, if they do this for Sunglass Hut or for Luxottica, I think it's going to work. And actually, I know it's working, because if you look for information, I think last year or in 2017, they renewed their contract to continue with these products. And they are not that expensive as a diamond ring. They are around 2,000 pesos, 3,000, or even up to 5,000 pesos. So they are competitive with the rest of the brands that are being sold by Luxottica. But they did this with Swatch. I don't know if you know the brand Swatch. They do watches. And it went so wrong. I mean, it was about to go wrong, because I don't know your perception of Swatch, but it's not a high-end brand. And actually, they didn't have any high-end brand there until Tiffany & Company came to do this licensing. I think it lasted for around 3 to 4 years, and they even went into a legal fight to end this contract before it was due. It didn't work. So that that's, I think it's not kind of obvious, but it kind of is. If you license your brand to some other brand that doesn't represent what you believe or what your values are, it's not going to work out. But for Luxottica, it's going to work out. It's working. I think Tiffany & Company also licensed their brand name to a una perfumería francesa. I think that kind of worked out, but it eventually ended, so it didn't work out in the end. But I think for Luxottica and Tiffany & Company, it's going well and it's going to go greater. And they are continuing with their expansion. They know by expanding with some limits, they are going to have more value to their shareholders, okay? So any questions on how we solve the case with numbers?
Teacher, I didn't understand why do we recommend to continue the expansion in Japan?
Oh, okay, so let me share with you the numbers. So we encountered by looking at the balance sheet that from 2004 to 2005, there was a decreasing in half of the capex. So that means they stopped expanding. By stopping expanding, I found out that all of the KPIs went down. So the problem here is that they stopped investing in expansion. So that's why I look into the US and Japan, because both are the two places that they are earning more money. So I look at the number of stores, how many pieces in average they sell, and the increase or decrease growth rate of expansion on stores for both US and Japan. So I see the US is performing really well. They are putting their assets they are investing their assets in an efficient way because they have 64 stores. They are selling this amount of pieces, almost double with just 10 stores more. And they didn't stop expanding. When I look into Japan, I see they have this amount of stores, not so different from the US. They sell about half from what the US SA is selling. And even if I look at the average piece prices, they are selling cheaper pieces. And when I look to the movement of expansion in these 2 years, I see that they stopped expanding. Actually, not only stopped, they went from 53 to 50. So they closed the stores. Okay, so if I saw from the balance sheet that the problem was that they stopped expanding, and I see that it wasn't a problem in the US, but in Japan, so I will suggest Tiffany & Company to continue expanding on Japan instead of closing stores. That's how we got the solution. Was it understood, Pamela?
But why should we expand? But why should we recommend that if they are losing money?
No. They are not losing money. That's what you see in the income statement. They lost money because they closed stores in Japan. That's the relation. We are not talking about the income statement. We are not talking about losses in money in this case. We're talking about the ratios in the balance sheet. So the rationale here is we are losing money, or we are not being efficient in our asset allocation because we closed stores in Japan, not because we are losing money in Japan. We didn't even talk about money loss. If you look here, Pamela, actually, to the income statement, are they losing money in their profit? No, right? They are gaining more money. However, the margins are the ones that are decreasing, and that's because they closed stores in Japan. Was it understood, or some part was not, Pamela?
So part was not. like I understand that they were like losing because they closed some stores, but I think that if they closed some stores, it's because they were like they were not having good results. So why should we recommend to expand?
No, that was not the reason. Well, I didn't give you context, but if you read the case, you will find that they closed stores because they had fear of expanding way too rapid and their brand will dilute. That's the reason why, not because they were losing money. Actually, the first thing we always see, remember, is the income statement. Are they losing money? Yes or not? No, they are not losing money. Actually, they are selling more. They have more operational expenses, and they also have more cost of goods sold, but the gross profit is increasing. The net profit or earnings from operations in this case is increasing, so they are not losing money. Okay. However, when we look at the balance sheet, we see that the margins are not going up. So yes, I'm having more money, but in terms of percentages, in terms of revenues and costs, I'm not gaining more money. I'm gaining less money. O sea, como se acuerdan que vimos el de Freddy's, estaba disminuyendo el profit margin, pero el revenue estaba subiendo. Es lo mismo aquí. Es exactamente lo mismo. Entonces, identificamos dónde está el problema. Identificamos que el problema estaba en el año 2004 el 2005, porque allí es donde hubo un decremento drástico en todos los KPIs que hay en el balance sheet. ¿Cuál es el más drástico? El CAPEX. Entonces aquí puedo decir, aquí hay un problema. ¿Y el CAPEX qué es? ¿Cuánto dinero gasto en mi expansión, en renovar mis muebles, en renovar mis tiendas, en cambiar locación, lo que sea? Entonces digo, hubo un decremento drástico en el dinero que yo gasto en mi negocio. Y tiene sentido, ¿no? Hubo un decremento en el dinero que gasto porque cerré 3 tiendas. Aquí seguí incrementando, o sea, esa inversión siguió creciendo. Y nada más estoy analizando Estados Unidos y Japón, porque ya les dije, me vine aquí a ver de dónde venía el dinero, y vi que la mayoría del dinero venía de Estados Unidos, y el 50% de esto, pues, es la mayoría de Japón. Y por eso me enfoqué en estos. Por eso no es sorpresa que el caso nos esté dando nada más Estados Unidos y Japón. Lo que hice después es decir, ok, ya tengo cuánto gano de cada uno de estos, pero quiero calcular cómo está creciendo esto y compararlo con cómo están vendiendo. Entonces, lo que hicimos fue calcular cómo fue creciendo y ya vimos que hubo un decremento aquí y calculamos cuántas piezas está vendiendo. Quiero saber cuánto venden en Estados Unidos y en Japón para tomar decisiones. Lo que hicimos fue obtener este revenue total de Estados Unidos, lo multiplicamos por cuánto venden de los anillos que no tienen diamante, y que no son de compromiso, perdón, que tienen alguna gema y que no son de compromiso, lo multiplicamos por eso y lo dividimos entre el precio promedio para sacar más o menos cuántos de estos vendí. Lo multiplicamos por 14 y dividir en 4,500 para sacar en promedio cuántos diamantes, más bien, cuántos anillos con diamantes y de bodas vendí. Lo mismo hicimos con cada uno. Nos dimos cuenta que en Estados Unidos estamos vendiendo 478 y en Japón estábamos teniendo 184. En Estados Unidos tenemos 64 tiendas y en Japón 52. Estoy tomando los datos de los últimos años. Aquí es 2006 y aquí 2007. Ahí tal vez cometimos algún error, pero no es muy garrafal. Podríamos haberlo calculado con el 2006 y saldría un resultado similar, pero con números distintos. Se me fue eso nada más. Pero bueno, si lo hubiéramos calculado, hubiéramos sacado que hay mucho, estoy vendiendo mucho en Estados Unidos, casi el doble de lo que vendo en Japón, y solo tengo una diferencia de 8 tiendas. Es decir, en Japón no estoy vendiendo tanto, y ahí es cuando respondes la segunda pregunta. ¿Por qué no estoy vendiendo en Japón tanto, ni tan caro? Porque no tengo esa brand awareness. La gente no percibe a mi tienda o a mi marca como lo perciben los estadounidenses. A eso se debe. Pero bueno, viendo la primera pregunta, ya que tengo esta información que calculamos aquí, ya toda resumida, podemos ver mejor qué está pasando. Estas tiendas, solo 8 tiendas de diferencia, que digo, 8 puede sonar bastante, pero si lo comparamos con 60 no es tanto. Vendo casi más del doble, de hecho. Veo que estoy incrementando aquí tiendas y aquí disminuyendo tiendas. Si ya supe que el problema que tuve en el balance sheet en el año 2004-2005 es porque detuve mi inversión en expansión, ¿en dónde la detuve? En Japón. Entonces ya vi que en Japón, donde detuve, es más, fui en retroceso porque cerré tiendas, ahí está el problema, porque en Estados Unidos no, estamos creciendo. O sea, en el balance sheet viene que el problema fue porque detuve la expansión. ¿En dónde la detuve? En Estados Unidos no, la detuve en Japón. Ah, entonces por eso recomiendo a Tiffany & Co. Como en Japón fue que lo detuvo, que ahí le siga expandiéndose, porque ahí es donde al detenerse obtuvo menores márgenes en todo. ¿Sí?
O sea, es que sí entiendo eso, pero como que no se me hace tan lógico por el hecho de que pues venden más barato y menos piezas ahí. Pero pues igual y digo, el cerrar pues afectó mucho, entonces a lo mejor y
Ah,
sí,
bueno, en ese caso, Pamela, por eso está la segunda pregunta. ¿Cómo vas a incrementar el awareness para que en vez de que te compren piezas de $1,800, te compren de 1,400 como en Estados Unidos? A través de la alianza con Luxottica, que tiene a Sunglass Hut y las otras 2 marcas. De cambiar a una compañía de producto, que son diamantes y anillos de diamantes, a una compañía de estilo de vida donde venden, digo, ya empezaron con perfumes, intentaron con Swatch, con los relojes, en este caso con lentes de sol y también lentes de aumento. Los dos se están vendiendo con el nombre de Tiffany & Co. Busco que en Japón y en otras partes fuera de Estados Unidos se incremente esta percepción o reputación de Tiffany & Co. para que cuando ellos incrementen las tiendas en Japón, la gente tenga una percepción de la marca diferente y compre más y más caro. Por eso son 2 preguntas para complementar esta propuesta estratégica. Aún así no se te hace tan lógico, o qué parte no se te hace lógico, porque tal vez si la mayoría no lo tiene lógico.
no, pues, o sea, digo, creo que busca como que crear, o sea, tener como el impacto que tienen en Estados Unidos, pero en Japón, ¿no? Entonces,
Y a
por eso.
través de la alianza o la licencia con eso, son 5,500. Vimos que Tiffany & Co. tiene 167 tiendas. Imagínate el impacto que está teniendo, porque eso fue en el 2007. Y le está funcionando. Digo, no tan bien, pero le está funcionando. Como que Tiffany & Co. quiere empezar a convertirse en una marca de estilo de vida. Y pues está ese dilema, ¿no? Pues no queremos hacerlo tanto porque podemos diluir la marca, pero creo que no se está diluyendo para nada con los resultados que tienen. Es más, si buscan ahorita algo de Tiffany & Co. y les van a aparecer, porque yo lo busqué, la que tuvo con Swatch, con esta perfumería francesa, y creo que nada más esos 3 ha tenido. Y el que ha funcionado más es el de Luxottica. ¿Y por qué? Porque Luxottica tiene los mismos valores y la misma reputación que tiene Tiffany & Co. Por eso es recomendable que lo hagan con él. Te digo, tiene marcas como Burberry, Ralph Lauren, y creo que tienen más. ¿Ok? Pero es por eso. O sea, identificamos el problema de por qué, dónde se estaba deteniendo y les recomendamos no detenerse, porque vemos que al detenerse, pues están bajando sus márgenes. ¿Alguna otra que alguien no haya quedado claro? Les voy a mostrar, antes de que empecemos a cerrar la clase, lo que se muestra en el caso Roku. Porque así como yo calculé ciertas cosas para entender qué está pasando con Tiffany & Co., entender de dónde viene el problema. So that's what you have to do with the Roku 2021 case. That's for the final exam. So I told you for the simulation, we are not going to be doing the balance sheet. However, for the Roku 2021, you will have to analyze the balance sheet to reach solutions. So let me help you a bit with this. So here we have the income statement. And here we have information that belongs to the balance sheet. Total cash, cash equivalents, marketable securities. I already explained this in the presentation. Accounts receivable, that's the money that we owned. Well, the customer owes to us. Net property, plant, and equipment, that's what we have. That's also our part of our assets. Total assets, total liabilities, the money we owe to banks. Total shareholders' equity, the money from shareholders. We have number of employees, the gross margin. This is kind of weird to find it here because you usually should find it here in the income statement. R&D sales, when you divide it by sales, it means the same as the margin, the profit margins we saw. So how much money am I investing in research and development from the sales I got? This is selling, general, and administrative expenses. So how much money am I spending on OPEX, operational expenses, return on sales? So how much profit am I having from sales? The same as profit margin. Return on assets, we already saw this number. So I told you if we have a low number, that means we need a lot of investment or capital to start in this industry. So for, let's say, I didn't show it to you in the Tiffany and Company case. So for Tiffany and Company, here we have a 9 in this number, right? So that means if you want to enter the diamond industry, you will need a lot of money because you'll need to have mines of diamonds that actually Tiffany and Company owes all of these different activities. It's called vertical integration. So they own the mines, they own the manufacturing, the warehouses, and also the, how do you call it? Las fábricas donde manufacturan también, todo le pertenece, hace todo. Por eso controla muy bien la calidad. Pero bueno, el número 9, what this number is telling us is that you need a lot of money to get into the diamond industry. For Roku, it's kind of interesting because we see a negative number, and you'll see why. When you look at the different graphs, you see how bad Roku is doing in the stock market. It's not sustainable, actually. So this number, when you look at this number of how well they are investing their assets or how much money you need, these are negatives because of the industry. So how much money do you need in terms of like Disney Plus or Netflix? It's not a high amount of money. However, we have negatives here because Roku is not performing well in the stock market. When you see negative here, that means, recuerden que esto es qué tan bien o qué tan eficiente eres tú al momento de estar invirtiendo tus activos. Si tienes un negativo, significa que lo estás haciendo mal. Si tienes un positivo, significa que lo estás haciendo bien. Si tienes un número alto, significa que necesitas muy poco dinero en esa industria para entrar. Si tienes un número bajo, positivo, significa que requieres mucho dinero para poder entrar a esta industria. En este caso es negativo, como ya les dije, porque no es estable el crecimiento que tiene Roku. Si ya leyeron el caso, podrán entender lo que estoy hablando. Return on equity, pues para el año 2016 tenían o sea, cada que invertían, por eso esto fue un boom. Roku fue un super boom cuando empezó y de hecho creo que todos escuchamos que era Roku. Sobre todo por el servicio que ofrecían. Podías tener cualquier programa de cualquier servicio de streaming en una sola plataforma y sin tener que pagar más. Sin embargo, esto se fue diluyendo a lo largo del tiempo y es cuando empezamos a escuchar menos y menos a Roku. Es más, los inversionistas empezaron a retirar su dinero de aquí y tiene sentido porque no es sostenible al ver esta gráfica sobre todo. Entonces, el menos que se vaya siendo negativo significa que estás teniendo una pérdida al momento de invertir. Si yo cada que invierto más, la empresa está perdiendo. Entonces, como inversionista, yo digo, no voy a invertir y retiras tu dinero. Y eso hace que se empeore la situación porque Roku no va a tener dinero con qué trabajar. Sin embargo, si ya leyeron el caso, sabrán por qué este número se ha ido acercando al cero hasta después con el tiempo volverse positivo. Les digo, este es un caso muy actual, fue el del año pasado, por eso esta información es del 2020, pero pareciera que Roku se fue del ojo de sus clientes, pero está regresando, sobre todo en Estados Unidos. Y hay diferentes estrategias con las que puede regresar. Pero bueno, stock price low, pues esto es cuánto vale. Les voy a explicar, no sé si saben muy bien cuando se vuelve pública una empresa. Cuando se vuelve pública una empresa, significa que ahora cualquier persona va a poder tener una parte de esa empresa, dependiendo de cuántos shares defina la empresa. Por ejemplo, yo voy a tener que mi empresa, el total de mi empresa, que es el market value, valga esto y que sea dividido en, no sé, 1000 shares. Solo van a haber 1000 partecitas y cada una pues va a valer esto dividido entre 1000. Y lo vamos a lanzar al público. Cualquier persona va a poder comprar esas partecitas. ¿Y cuánto cuestan? Pues esto dividido entre el número de shares. Entonces, el stock price varía dependiendo de cuánto sea evaluado pues tu empresa. Esta evaluación, como les digo, los números que aparecen aquí por año son promedios. Sin embargo, varía en todo ese año el número de cuánto vale tu empresa. Entonces, la peor evaluación por share, por esa partecita, o la más baja que tuvo, está en esta línea. La más alta estuvo en esta línea. Y les voy a dar, como diría un profesor, el informante dice del examen final, el informante me dijo que si esto tiene una gran variación, significa que no es sostenible la empresa en el mercado público, en el mercado de inversiones. Y eso se ve aquí, stock price performance. Esto sí es sostenible. Espero que ya después de ver las gráficas de la simulación sepamos que es una gráfica sostenible. Esta no, la de Roku no es una gráfica sostenible. Es más, si yo fuera inversionista y veo esta gráfica, decidiría no invertir porque pues es mucha volatilidad como para estar arriesgando mi dinero, cuando lo podría arriesgar en negocios más sostenibles como Amazon, Alphabet, Apple, Disney, etc. Pero bueno, esa información tiene el informante del examen final. Así es como leemos el balance sheet. No lo fui a detalle porque eso es parte del examen final, pero todos estos ratios prácticamente ya los conocen y tengan siempre conscientes de qué significa. Así como ahorita definimos en Tiffany & Co. qué significa que tenga un positivo, un negativo, que sea disminuido a la mitad y cómo puedo tomar decisiones con eso. ¿Ok? Entonces, eso es lo que quería ver la clase de hoy, que entendieran cómo podemos usar los números porque lo van a hacer en el examen final, cómo analizar si hay un problema operativo en el income statement y si hay un problema de cómo yo invierto mis activos en el balance sheet. ¿Sí sucede?
El examen final va a ser de opción múltiple.
Así es, todo es opción múltiple. 20 preguntas de opción múltiple. Viene teoría del cuarto capítulo de Strategic Management, básicamente los tipos de estrategias. Les digo, eso no lo vimos aquí en clase en una presentación porque no quería nada más venirles a decir cuál es cada uno. Entonces lo leen ahí y ahora sí lo vamos a aplicar. A este caso vienen cálculos de incremento, más bien de crecimiento, los growth rates, los profit margins, analizar el income statement, encontrar problemas de costos o ingresos, el balance sheet, entender cómo estoy utilizando mis assets, si tengo un buen performance o no, como lo hicimos ahorita con Tiffany & Co. Vimos cómo se fue toda la mitad, aunque el income statement estaba bien, era nada más una pantalla, así como ocurrió con Freddy's. Eso es muy común, que los números te digan no hay nada, pero en realidad sí hay algo. ¿Qué más? Te pregunto mucho, leyendo tal párrafo, viendo tal gráfica, ¿qué le recomendarías hacer a Roku? Y vienen 4 opciones de estrategias. No sé, quitar este producto, poner este producto, diversificación relacionada, cosas así. La mayoría son así, que les pregunto, analicen un párrafo o un párrafo y una gráfica o una tabla o una tabla y una gráfica, me digan qué está pasando y qué recomiendan hacer con eso que está pasando. Por eso les digo, es importante saber qué nos dicen los números. Ese es el Data Analytics tal cual. Y ahorita lo estamos haciendo con uno que otro dato, ¿no? el Big Data o el análisis de muchos datos es más interesante. Lo vamos a ver el último de clases, nada más como introducción. Hay programas para eso, como Tableau y Power BI. Yo utilizo más Power BI, me gusta más, es de Microsoft. Pero bueno, el principio es el mismo, sean, no sé, 12 datos, sean 10,000 datos. Si sabes qué significan, qué te dicen de la empresa que estás analizando, pues ya tienes mucho de ganancia en términos de estrategia. ¿Ok? Entonces, dudas generales antes de cerrar la clase e irme a dudas particulares.
Profe, la actividad que se entrega mañana es la última actividad de este periodo, ¿verdad? O sea, sin contar la evidencia.
Creo que sí. ¿Es del año 10? Sí. De hecho, les subí un ejemplo del Executive Summary. Más o menos así se debería de ver. Eso es lo que espero. Digo, no son tantas hojas. Les muestro lo que es más importante para mí. Primero el objetivo siempre. Y siempre primero el income statement. Balance sheet después. Aquí no hay balance sheet. Y después lo que les voy a evaluar son dos cosas. Recuerden, ahí si ven la rúbrica es que los KPIs que ustedes me estén mostrando en la primera parte de su resumen ejecutivo apoyen sus objetivos estratégicos. O sea, que no vea KPIs que no tienen nada que ver. Y si no saben de qué estoy hablando, pueden ver el artículo que les compartí nuevamente, cómo seleccionar los KPIs para un objetivo estratégico. Aquí está fácil. Si tus KPIs vinieron del framework que hiciste, apoyan tus objetivos. Y la segunda parte es los insights. Si con los números que ustedes tuvieron, quiero ver qué tan buenos son en evaluar el performance de la empresa. Así como lo hicimos ahorita. Con los números que yo vi, digamos, aquí ya está el primer, en este caso de Tiffany & Co., el primer punto ya está checked. Me están mostrando todos los KPIs que son útiles. Lo que yo hice fue la otra parte de lo que voy a evaluar, que con estos números, y en los insights lo voy a ver, me sepan decir cómo está su empresa y qué recomiendan hacer. Tal cual lo hice. Vi cómo estaba Estados Unidos, cómo estaba Japón, cómo estaba en general Tiffany & Co., de dónde venía el problema, y como vi con estos números cuál era el problema, recomiendo a la empresa hacer esto, seguir expandiendo en Japón en vez de ir en retroceso, porque ya vi que eso es lo que está disminuyendo los márgenes, sobre todo de ganancia. Entonces, esas dos partes es lo que voy a ver, las dos subcompetencias de la subcompetencia, por así decirlo. ¿Ok? ¿Más dudas generales?
Profe, el examen que viene la siguiente semana lo tomaríamos durante la clase.
Así
¿O sería?
es. Entonces, tenemos el viernes presentaciones, martes presentaciones. Este viernes vamos a hacer otro ejemplo. Vamos a tomar uno de los...
Jueves, profe.
Perdón, el jueves. Vamos a tomar uno de los ejemplos de todos los casos de práctica que les puse. Si no los han visto, les recomiendo. Nada más vean los números. Empiecen a practicar así. Vean, por ejemplo, bien Office Depot. Vean el income statement. Vean el balance sheet. Son los únicos dos statements que vamos a ver en este módulo. No vamos a ver flujo efectivo. Pero bueno, esos dos. Y piensen. Primero que nada, estoy siendo en el income statement eficiente en mis operaciones, estoy ganando dinero, y en el balance sheet estoy usando de buena manera mis activos, es decir, todo lo que me pertenece, el dinero, las máquinas, mi personal, todo. Y vean los números, y si no logran verlo con eso, empiecen a utilizar grow rates, empiecen a utilizar gráficas, empiecen a aislar los KPIs para que no lo vean todo junto. Asegúrense de que entienden al momento de leer estos dos statements cómo está la empresa. Eso es lo que va a venir el examen final, que al analizar el income statement y el balance sheet me digan, ¿lo están haciendo bien? ¿Lo están haciendo mal? Y también viene la parte estratégica, que me den opciones. Pero sí, ahí tienen un montón de casos en los que les envié de práctica. Se van a conocer el viernes, así como lo hicimos ahorita. Porque el problema con los cálculos es que existe la fórmula, no sé, net income sobre revenue. Pero así como lo hicimos para la simulación, el dónde obtener los números es lo difícil, ¿no? Con los datos que tengo, bueno, tengo que calcular cuánto capturé por barco. Y en este caso dije, bueno, yo tengo las ventas totales, pero no me dicen cuánto están vendiendo en piezas. Quiero saber. Ah, bueno, entonces empiezo a hacer los cálculos. Pero eso depende de los datos que tienes y lo que quieres obtener, y cada caso es distinto. Entonces, la competencia de desarrollar ahorita, una es escoger los KPIs, definir KPIs, pero la segunda es saber leer estos KPIs en términos, como dice, Data Analytics for Organizational Performance, para saber cómo cómo se está, ¿cómo se dice? Desempeñando la empresa en ese momento que estás leyendo todos los datos. ¿Más preguntas? Antes de quedarme con preguntas individuales.
Yo tengo una duda, profe. ¿Nos darías feedback en tipo el reporte para ver
El
más o
último sí
menos?
les voy a dar a todos. No les he dado porque son muchos, pero el último, el que entreguen del año 10, sí.
Ok, perfecto, para ver más o menos cómo hacerlo en la evidencia.
Como quiera, bueno, aquí les publico otra vez el ejemplo. Esto lo hice de un dummy que está en el océano 3, no, en el 1 de la simulación. Aquí no es necesario que utilicen formato APA, de hecho todos los resúmenes ejecutivos son muy libres, por eso hice así esta portada. Muestro primero los objetivos. Ahí les puse que debe de incluir. Debe incluir los objetivos. Aquí es donde evalúo la primera competencia, que las gráficas y tablas que me muestren sean relevantes para estos objetivos que están aquí. Entonces, ¿qué incluir? Pues no les puedo decirlo. De todo lo que hemos hecho ahorita, ustedes piensen qué es lo más importante. Eso es lo que voy a evaluar. Y ya que mostré todo esto, es más, mostré mi balance scorecard, el strategy map. Aquí mostré los 3 KPIs más importantes, los junté para tenerlos en una misma gráfica y los viera. ¿Cuáles son los 3 más importantes? Pues los de mis 3 objetivos, Bank Balance, Fleet Value y el Fish Stock. Aquí hice proyecciones, calculé el Net Profit Margin. Y en los Insights, aquí es donde evalúo la segunda parte de la subcompetencia. Y aquí les digo, esto ha ido en decrecimiento por estas razones. Esto ha decrecido, esto ha aumentado. Vi el fish stock, es sostenible. Por lo tanto, puedo decir, esto es importante sobre todo para el equipo 1 y 3. Si ahorita, del océano 1 y 3. Si en estas últimas decisiones eres del océano 1 y 3 y tienes barcos en el muelle, sácalos de ahí porque este último estirón es para que mandes a todos los barcos que tienes donde te den más manes de ganancia porque no vas a sobrepescar. Entonces, si en este último año eres del océano 1 y 3 y tienes barcos en el muelle, sácalos de ahí para cerrar esta última parte. Este insight me dice, analizaste eso, puede ser más específico y poner qué iba a hacer, pero eso ya viene aquí en la decisión. Fish stock sustainable, expected profit margin for both locations in the ocean are practically the same. Este es un buen insight, ¿no? Porque si son muy cercanos, no importa dónde los ponga. Tengo que tener otro criterio. Creo que eso pasó con un equipo en la sesión pasada. ¿Mi criterio cuál va a ser? Pues tal vez el fish stock. Pero como no hay fish stock, entonces puedes ponerlo donde tú quieras. Ese insight me dice eso. Profit is forecast to decline due to bank interest. Lo que me dice eso es que estoy teniendo números negativos y por lo tanto el banco me está cargando con intereses. Entonces, ¿qué hago? Tratar de que ese balance sea positivo. Value of fleet is forecast to decline due to decrease in ship prices. ¿Qué me dice eso? Pues que ya no compre más barcos, ¿no? Porque si está decreciendo el valor del precio, el precio de los barcos, pues mi flota va a valer menos. Digo, si mi objetivo es incrementar mis ventas de peces, pues tal vez compre bastantes en este último estirón y los ponga ahí. Otra estrategia. Otro insight, fleet value holds relevance for the general objective compared to the bank balance. Esto es importante. Aquí lo que estoy diciendo es que como está yendo tan mal en las ventas, voy a basar mi victoria o mi objetivo en el fleet value. Y como aquí veo que el fleet value está decreciendo, pues aquí tengo que ver qué decisión tomar. Si me estoy enfocando en el fleet value y veo que está decreciendo, voy a comprar más o no, y ahí tomas una decisión. Not enough information is presented to take wiser decisions due to lack of ships deployed. Como ven, este profit margin es esperado. Hice nada más un cálculo proyectando. Como no tengo ningún barco en la costa y en el océano profundo, no tengo información. A menos que ponga un barco ahí, ya voy a poder calcular mi net profit. ¿Hace
Pero-
sentido? No, si no tienes nada, es un 0.
Profe, eso es lo que tenemos que hacer para la última evidencia.
Sí,
Pero del año, ¿de qué año?
es reflectivo, es que tú analices cómo te fue en la simulación. Después del año 10, analices los insights de todo lo que pasó y una reflexión personal. ¿Por qué ganaste? ¿Por qué perdiste? ¿Y qué pudiste haber hecho mejor?
¿Y qué gráficas ponemos? O sea, ¿de qué años? ¿O de todos? ¿O cómo?
Eso es lo que te estoy evaluando, Suset, que
Ah,
tú tengas la competencia de decidir qué es relevante y qué no es relevante.
ok.
¿Mm? Ok, ¿más dudas de esto? Mis recomendaciones, vean los ejercicios o lo que les publiqué, los casos de práctica, vean el income statement, vean el balance sheet, o es más, esta información sirve un chorro para inversiones. Si no saben nada de inversiones, un poquito de inversiones, se pueden meter a alguna página que te muestre información financiera de alguna compañía y piensen, ¿está siendo eficiente en sus operaciones y en el uso de sus assets, sí o no? ¿Y qué podría ser mejor? Entonces, sí, váyanse allá en Office Depot, allá Amazon, en las de ejercicio, y hagan este ejercicio. Lo vamos a hacer este jueves también, porque tenemos tiempo, con alguno de esos ejemplos. Pero les recomendaría hacer eso si todavía no están confiados en que saben leer números, ¿ok? Entonces me quedo aquí para dudas particulares y nos vemos el siguiente jueves para hacer un ejercicio más como el que hicimos ahorita de Tiffany & Co. y las presentaciones. Me quedo para dudas generales. Bueno, particulares. ¿Alguien tiene alguna duda?
Yo sí, profe.
¿Mm?